"Get this street child away from here," the PA shouted as the little girl collapsed at the billionaire's feet. But Tunde Williams couldn't move. Something in her eyes reminded him of a past he had buried long ago. A past that would make him risk everything to save her. Welcome to Story by TJ, where we bring you real stories about real people facing impossible choices. I'm so glad you're here with us today. Before we dive into this incredible story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end of this one because what happens will leave you speechless. The afternoon sun blazed mercilessly over Ajigunle as 12-year-old Ada hurried through the narrow, crowded streets. Her worn school uniform clung to her thin frame, damp with sweat. She clutched her bag tightly, dodging puddles of murky water and piles of garbage that lined the edges of the unpaved road. "Ada, wait!" her classmate called from behind, but Ada didn't stop. Something felt wrong today. Her mother hadn't been at the window when she passed by during break time. Something she always did. Ada's heart pounded as she turned into their street. The zinc-roofed bungalows stood cramped together, their walls stained with age and neglect. She pushed open the creaking wooden door of their single room. "Mama!" she called out. Silence. Then she saw her. Her mother lay motionless on the floor beside their small kerosene stove, her wrapper twisted around her legs. "Mama! Mama! Wake up!" Ada dropped to her knees, shaking her mother's shoulders. Her mother's skin felt cold despite the afternoon heat. Panic seized Ada's chest. "Help! Somebody help me!" she screamed. Within moments, neighbors rushed in. Mama Ngozi, the woman from next door, pressed her hand against Ada's mother's forehead and gasped. "She's burning up with fever. We need to get her to the clinic now." Two men lifted Ada's mother carefully while the women cleared a path. Ada followed, her legs trembling, tears blurring her vision. They carried her mother through the dusty streets to the small community clinic 3 blocks away, a tiny building with peeling paint and a faded Red Cross sign. Inside, the clinic smelled of disinfectant and old medicine. A nurse directed them to lay Ada's mother on one of the 3 metal beds. The doctor, an elderly man with tired eyes and a stethoscope around his neck, examined her quickly. Ada stood in the corner, her hands clasped together, praying silently. After what felt like forever, the doctor approached Mama Ngozi and spoke in a low voice, but Ada heard every word. "She needs urgent treatment. Her blood pressure is dangerously high, and I suspect severe malaria complications. We can stabilize her here, but she needs proper tests and medication. It will cost money." "How much?" Mama Ngozi asked. "At least 50,000 naira to start. And if it's worse, much more." Ada's world tilted. 50,000 naira? They barely had enough for food. Her mother worked as a roadside food seller, and some days they went to bed hungry. Mama Ngozi turned to Ada, her face full of pity. "Do you have any relatives? Anyone who can help?" Ada shook her head, her throat too tight to speak. It had always been just her and her mother. The clinic's waiting area was stuffy and dim. Ada sat on a wooden bench, staring at the cracked floor tiles. Through the thin curtain, she could hear the nurse checking on her mother. "If we don't get the money by tomorrow, I don't know if she'll make it," the doctor said quietly to Mama Ngozi outside. Those words struck Ada like a blow. Tomorrow. Her mother might die tomorrow. She couldn't let that happen. She wouldn't. Mama Ngozi came over and sat beside her, placing a gentle hand on Ada's shoulder. "Don't worry, my child. We will find a way. I'll ask around the neighborhood. People will contribute what they can." But Ada knew better. Everyone in Ajigunle was struggling. Asking neighbors for 50,000 naira was like asking them to give away their lives. She needed a miracle. Her eyes drifted to her mother's old handbag sitting beside her on the bench. Ada reached for it slowly, her fingers trembling. Inside, she found a small purse with 300 naira, a rosary, and an old, folded newspaper. Ada unfolded the newspaper carefully. It was over a month old, the edges yellowed and torn. But the headline still stood out boldly. Tunde Williams, Nigeria's youngest billionaire, expands empire with new real estate development. Below the headline was a large photograph of a man in an expensive suit standing in front of a gleaming glass building. His expression was confident, almost untouchable. The article described him as the owner of Williams Group, one of the largest conglomerates in Nigeria: real estate, oil, construction, everything. Ada stared at the picture. This man had everything: money, power, influence. An idea formed in her mind, desperate, crazy. But it was all she had. If she could just reach him. If she could just ask him for help. Not for free money, no, she had her pride. She would ask for a job. Any job. Cleaning, cooking, running errands. Anything to earn the money her mother needed. She read the article again, her eyes scanning for an address. There it was. Williams Group Headquarters, Victoria Island, Lagos. Victoria Island. That was far, very far from Ajigunle. But Ada didn't care. She folded the newspaper and tucked it into her school bag. Her decision was made. "Mom Ngozi," Ada said quietly, standing up. "I need to go somewhere." The older woman frowned. "Go where?" "Ada, your mother needs you here." "I'm going to get the money," Ada said, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her stomach. "What? How?" "I'll find a way. Please just stay with her. I'll be back soon." Before Mama Ngozi could protest further, Ada turned and walked out of the clinic. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. She looked down at her worn school shoes, her faded uniform, and her empty hands. She had no money for transport, no connections, no plan, only hope. But hope, she decided, would have to be enough. Ada's journey from Ajigunle to Victoria Island was long and exhausting. She boarded a Danfo bus with the last 200 naira she had, squeezing into the crowded vehicle alongside traders, laborers, and tired office workers. The bus rattled through Lagos traffic, weaving dangerously between lanes. Ada gripped the seat in front of her, her mind focused on one thing: reaching the billionaire. When the Danfo reached its final stop, she was still miles away from Victoria Island. She had no choice but to walk. Her feet ached as she trekked along the busy roads. Cars sped past her, splashing dirty water from potholes onto her uniform. People stared, but no one stopped to ask if she needed help. The sun had fully set by the time she reached Victoria Island. The difference was staggering. The roads were smooth and clean. Tall glass buildings rose into the night sky, their lights glittering like stars. Expensive cars glided silently past her. Ada felt small, out of place, but she kept walking. Finally, she saw it, the Williams Group headquarters. It was massive, a towering structure of steel and glass that seemed to touch the clouds. The company's logo gleamed in gold letters above the entrance. Ada's heart pounded as she approached the gates. 2 security guards stood at the entrance, dressed in crisp uniforms. This was it. She took a deep breath, straightened her back, and walked toward them. One of the guards noticed her immediately. "Hey, where do you think you're going?" Ada stopped, her voice shaking but determined. "Please, sir, I need to see Mr. Tunde Williams. I need to ask him for a job." The guards exchanged amused glances. "A job?" One of them laughed. "Little girl, go back to where you came from. This is not a place for people like you." Ada's hands clenched into fists. "Please. My mother is dying. I just need any job, cleaning, anything. Please let me see him." "Move along before we call the police," the second guard said harshly. But Ada didn't move. She planted her feet firmly on the ground. She had come too far to give up now. Ada stood her ground, her small frame trembling but resolute. The security guards towered over her, their expressions hardening with irritation. "I said move!" the taller guard barked, stepping forward. "Do you want us to drag you out of here?" "Please," Ada's voice cracked, but she held her position. "I'm not here to beg for money. I just want to work. I can clean offices, wash cars, carry things, anything. Please just let me speak to someone." The second guard shook his head, pulling out his phone. "That's it. I'm calling for backup. We get too many of you street kids trying to sneak in here. Ada's eyes widened with panic. No, please. I'm not trying to cause trouble. My mother is in the hospital. She's dying. I just need. We've heard it all before. The first guard interrupted coldly. Everyone has a sick mother or a dying father. This is Lagos. Everyone has problems. A small crowd began to gather on the sidewalk, passers-by curious about the commotion. Some shook their heads in pity, others pulled out their phones to record. That poor child, an elderly woman whispered. These rich people have no heart, a young man muttered, but no one stepped forward to help. Ada felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had cried enough today. Now she needed to be strong. I'm not leaving, she said quietly, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. I'll wait here all night if I have to. I'll wait until Mr. Williams comes out. The guards exchanged frustrated glances. They had dealt with beggars before, but this girl's determination was unusual. Listen, kid, the taller guard said, his tone slightly softer now. Even if you wait here for a week, you won't see him. Mr. Williams doesn't just walk out to meet random people. He's a billionaire. He has meetings, bodyguards, schedules. People like you don't get to see people like him. Then I'll wait until someone listens, Ada replied, moving to the side of the gate and sitting down on the pavement. The guards looked at each other, unsure of what to do. Physically removing a child would look bad, especially with people watching and recording. Hours passed. The night grew cooler. Ada wrapped her arms around herself, shivering slightly in her thin uniform. Her stomach growled with hunger, but she ignored it. Office workers left the building in groups, glancing at her curiously as they passed. Some whispered among themselves. One kind woman offered her a bottle of water, which Ada accepted gratefully. Are you sure you don't want to go home? The woman asked gently. Ada shook her head. I can't. Not until I get help. The woman sighed and walked away, shaking her head. As midnight approached, the building lights began to dim. Most employees had left. The guards changed shifts, and Ada heard the new ones being briefed about the stubborn girl at the gate. But still she stayed. Morning came slowly. Ada hadn't slept. Her body ached from sitting on the hard pavement all night, and her eyes felt heavy with exhaustion. But she remained alert, watching every vehicle that approached the gates. At exactly 7:30 in the morning, everything changed. A convoy of 3 black SUVs with tinted windows rolled up to the gates. The security guards immediately straightened, speaking rapidly into their radios. Ada scrambled to her feet, her heart racing. This had to be him. The gates swung open automatically, and the SUVs drove through slowly. As the middle vehicle passed, Ada saw her chance. Without thinking, she darted forward, slipping past the distracted guards. Hey! Stop her! One of them shouted. Ada ran toward the SUVs, waving her arms frantically. Mr. Williams! Please! Mr. Williams! The vehicles stopped abruptly. Car doors flew open, and 4 bodyguards in dark suits jumped out, surrounding Ada instantly. Get back! One of them commanded, his hand moving toward something inside his jacket. But Ada dropped to her knees right there in the driveway, her hands clasped together, tears streaming down her face. Please, sir. I just need a job. My mummy is dying. Please give me any work. Cleaning, cooking, anything. I'll work hard. Please, sir. Please. Her voice echoed across the silent compound. For a moment, everything froze. Then the back door of the middle SUV opened, and a man stepped out. Tunde Williams was exactly as he appeared in the newspaper. Tall, well-built, dressed in an immaculate navy blue suit that probably cost more than Ada's entire neighborhood earned in a month. His face was handsome but stern, his eyes hidden behind designer sunglasses. He stood there, looking down at the small girl kneeling before him. The bodyguards waited for his signal, ready to remove her. Sir, we'll handle this, one of them said quickly. She snuck past security. We'll have her removed immediately. But Tunde didn't respond right away. He removed his sunglasses slowly, revealing sharp, calculating eyes that studied Ada with an unreadable expression. Ada kept her head bowed, her entire body shaking. "Please, sir, I'm not a beggar. I just want to work. My mother is in the clinic. They say she'll die if we don't pay. I can clean your offices, I can." "How old are you?" Tun's voice cut through her plea. It was deep, authoritative, and carried the weight of someone used to being obeyed. Ada looked up, surprised he had spoken to her. 12, sir." 12, he repeated, something flickering across his face. Was it recognition? Memory? It disappeared as quickly as it came. A woman emerged from the SUV behind him, his personal assistant, Chioma. She was elegant in a crisp white blouse and black pencil skirt, her expression professional but wary. "Sir, we're already late for the board meeting," she said gently. Tund continued staring at Ada for a long moment. The girl's eyes, desperate, determined, fearless, unsettled something deep within him. Finally, he spoke. "Chioma, take her inside. Find out exactly what she wants." Chioma's eyes widened slightly. "Sir." "You heard me," Tun said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Take her to the lobby. Get her story. I want a full report before the meeting ends." He turned back toward the entrance without another word, his bodyguards falling into formation around him. Ada remained kneeling, stunned. Had he just agreed to hear her? Chioma approached carefully, her heels clicking against the pavement. She looked down at Ada with a mixture of sympathy and professional caution. "Come with me," she said, not unkindly. "And please stand up. You don't need to kneel." Ada rose shakily to her feet, barely believing what was happening. The security guards watched in disbelief as Chioma led the small, dusty girl through the gleaming glass doors of Williams Group headquarters. Inside, the lobby took Ada's breath away. Everything was polished marble and chrome. Massive chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Well-dressed people moved purposefully across the space, their shoes echoing importantly. Ada felt painfully aware of her dirty uniform, her uncombed hair, her worn shoes. Chioma led her to a quiet corner with leather sofas and gestured for her to sit. Ada perched on the edge nervously, afraid to dirty the expensive furniture. "Wait here," Chioma said. "I'll get you some water." She returned moments later with a bottle of cold water and a packet of biscuits. Ada's hands trembled as she accepted them. "Thank you, Ma," she whispered. Chioma sat across from her, pulling out a small notepad. "What's your name?" "Ada. Ada Okafor." "And your mother's name?" "Mrs. Blessing Okafor." Chioma wrote quickly, her professional mask firmly in place. But as Ada told her story, the collapse, the clinic, the desperate journey from Ajagunal, something shifted in the older woman's expression. "You walked from Ajagunal to Victoria Island?" Chioma asked, her voice softer now. Ada nodded. "I took Danfo part of the way, but then I had no more money." "And you stayed outside all night?" "Yes, Ma. I had to see him. I had to try." Chioma set down her pen, her professional composure cracking slightly. She had a daughter around Ada's age at home, safe and comfortable. The thought of that child going through what Ada had endured made her chest tighten. Meanwhile, 40 floors above, Tunde Williams sat in his glass-walled office, surrounded by his executive team discussing quarterly projections. But he wasn't listening. His eyes were fixed on the CCTV monitor on his desk, which showed the lobby below. He watched Ada talking to Chioma, watched her small hands clutching the water bottle, watched her wipe her eyes with the back of her hand. Something about her reminded him of someone. Himself. 25 years ago, when he was a boy in Mushin with nothing but determination and dreams too big for his circumstances. He had been exactly where she was now, and someone had given him a chance. Chioma leaned forward, her notepad resting on her lap. "Ada, I need you to tell me everything. Start from the beginning. What exactly do you need?" Ada took a deep breath, her small fingers twisting the hem of her uniform. "My mother sells food by the roadside in Ajagunal. Akara and bread in the morning, rice and stew in the afternoon. It's how we survive." She paused, her voice trembling. Yesterday, when I came home from school, I found her on the floor. She had collapsed. The neighbors helped me take her to the clinic. Chioma nodded, writing carefully. The doctor said she has high blood pressure and severe malaria. He said she needs treatment urgently, medicine, tests, everything. But it costs 50,000 naira. Ada's eyes filled with tears. We don't have that kind of money. We barely have money for food. What about your father? Chioma asked gently. Ada's face darkened. He left when I was 5. We don't know where he is. Other relatives? No, ma. It's just me and my mother. Always has been. Chioma felt a lump forming in her throat. She had conducted hundreds of interviews in her career, vetted countless proposals, but nothing had touched her quite like this child's quiet desperation. So what exactly are you asking for, Ada? Ada sat up straighter, her voice gaining strength. I'm not asking for free money, ma. I want to work. I can clean offices. I clean our room every day. I can wash toilets, sweep floors, arrange files, carry things. I'm strong for my size. She looked directly at Chioma, her eyes blazing with determination. I'll work every day after school. Weekends too. I'll do anything. Just pay me enough to save my mother. Please. Chioma had to look away, blinking rapidly. This child, this 12-year-old girl, was offering to sacrifice her childhood, her education, her everything, just to save her mother. You said you're in school? Chioma asked. Yes, ma. Primary 6 at Community Primary School, Ajigunal. And you're willing to work after school every day? Yes, ma. Ada's face lit up with hope. I can come here straight from school. I'll work until night. I won't complain. I promise I'll work harder than anyone. Chioma closed her notepad slowly. Her professional instinct told her this was impossible. A 12-year-old couldn't legally work in their company. Child labor laws, insurance issues, liability concerns, there were 1,000 reasons to say no. But looking into Ada's eyes, seeing the fierce love this child had for her mother, Chioma couldn't find the words to refuse. Wait here, she said quietly, standing up. I need to speak with Mr. Williams. Ada grabbed her hand suddenly. Please, ma. Please tell him I'll be the best worker he's ever had. I won't let him down. Please. Chioma squeezed her hand gently. I'll tell him. As she walked toward the elevator, Chioma realized she was fighting back tears. In all her years working for Tunde Williams, she had never gone into his office emotionally compromised. Today would be the first time. Tunde's office occupied the entire top floor of the building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Lagos, from the Atlantic Ocean to the sprawling cityscape beyond. His desk was massive mahogany, his chair Italian leather. Everything spoke of power and success. But his attention wasn't on the view or his surroundings. His eyes remained fixed on the security monitor showing the lobby below. He watched Ada sitting alone on the sofa, her small body looking even tinier in the vast, luxurious space. She sat with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap, occasionally glancing around with wide, wondering eyes. She didn't touch anything, didn't try to take the expensive magazines on the coffee table, didn't lean back comfortably into the sofa. She sat like someone who knew she didn't belong but was too determined to leave. Tunde's intercom buzzed. Sir, Chioma is here to see you. Send her in. Chioma entered, closing the door behind her. Tunde noticed immediately that her usual professional composure was shaken. Well? He asked, turning from the monitor. Chioma approached his desk, her voice steady but soft. Sir, her name is Ada Okafor, 12 years old. Lives in Ajigunal with her mother who's currently hospitalized with high blood pressure and severe malaria. The treatment costs 50,000 naira, which they don't have. She paused. She's not asking for a donation, sir. She wants a job. She's offering to work, cleaning, running errands, anything, to earn money for her mother's treatment. Tunde said nothing, his expression unreadable. Chioma continued, Sir, I know this is highly irregular. Child labor laws alone make this impossible. But I've never met a child with such determination. She walked from Ajigunal to Victoria Island. She spent the entire night outside our gates. And when I spoke to her, Chioma's voice caught slightly. She wasn't begging. She was negotiating, offering value in exchange for payment. Tunde turned back to the monitor. On screen, Ada was now staring down at her hands, her lips moving silently. She appeared to be praying. Something twisted in his chest. "Give her a cleaning task," he said suddenly. "Sir, a temporary cleaning assignment. Nothing official. Have her clean one of the conference rooms on the 5th floor. Observe how she works. I want to see if this determination is real or just desperation theater." Chioma hesitated. "Sir, if the board finds out." "They won't," Tunde interrupted firmly. "This is between you and me. Pay her 2,000 naira for today's work from my personal account. Let's see what she does with it. And if she proves herself?" Tunde was silent for a long moment, his eyes still on the screen. "Then we'll see." Chioma nodded and turned to leave. "Chioma," Tunde called out. "Yes, sir?" "That clinic she mentioned, find out which one. Send someone to verify the mother's condition. I want confirmation this story is real." "Of course, sir." After Chioma left, Tunde remained standing by the window, his reflection staring back at him from the glass. That girl reminded him of someone he'd tried very hard to forget. The boy he used to be. Ada cleaned the conference room with meticulous care. Chioma had brought her upstairs, given her cleaning supplies, and explained the task. "Just clean this room thoroughly," Chioma had said. "The table, chairs, windows, floor, everything. When you're done, come find me." Ada had nodded eagerly and gotten to work immediately. She wiped down the long glass conference table until it gleamed, carefully cleaned each of the 20 leather chairs, scrubbed the whiteboard, and mopped the marble floor twice to ensure it was spotless. She worked as though her life depended on it, because in a way it did. 2 hours later, she stepped back to admire her work. The room sparkled. She was just about to go find Chioma when her pocket vibrated. The old Nokia phone her mother had given her for emergencies. She had forgotten it was there. Ada pulled it out with trembling hands. The number was from the clinic. "Hello?" she answered breathlessly. "Is this Ada Okafor?" A woman's voice asked urgently. "Yes, ma. This is nurse patients from the clinic. You need to come immediately. Your mother's condition has deteriorated. Her blood pressure spiked dangerously high. We've done what we can, but without proper medication and treatment, I don't know how much longer." The phone slipped from Ada's hand, clattering to the floor. The room spun violently. Ada's vision blurred. Her legs gave way beneath her. The last thing she heard before darkness swallowed her was the distant sound of the phone hitting the ground and a voice calling, "Hello? Ada? Are you there?" In his office, Tunde was reviewing contracts when Chioma burst through the door without knocking. Something she had never done in 8 years of working for him. "Sir, it's the girl. She's collapsed." Tunde was on his feet instantly. "Where?" "Conference room 5B. Security just called. They heard a crash." Tunde didn't wait for the elevator. He took the emergency stairs, his expensive shoes pounding against the concrete steps, his heart racing in a way it hadn't in years. When he reached the 5th floor and threw open the conference room door, he found Ada crumpled on the floor, unconscious, her small body frighteningly still. 2 security guards stood nearby, uncertain what to do. Tunde rushed forward, kneeling beside her. He carefully turned her onto her back, checking for breathing. Her pulse was faint but present. "Call an ambulance," he ordered. "Sir, they'll take at least 30 minutes in this traffic," one guard responded. "Then call my driver. Now, we're taking her to Lagoon Hospital ourselves." Chioma appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "Sir, I found her phone. The clinic called. Her mother's condition has worsened." Tunde looked down at the unconscious girl in his arms. This child who had fought so hard, traveled so far, refused to give up. And something inside him, something he had buried under years of boardroom battles and business deals, finally broke open. "Get the car," he said quietly, lifting Ada carefully. "We're going to save her mother." The SUV tore through Lagos traffic, Tunde's driver navigating with practiced urgency. In the back seat, Ada lay across Chioma's lap, still unconscious. Tunde sat rigidly beside them, his jaw clenched, watching the girl's pale face. "How much longer?" he asked tersely. 5 minutes, sir," the driver responded. Lagoon Hospital appeared ahead, a pristine private facility in Lekki, worlds away from the small clinic in Ajigunle. The SUV pulled directly to the emergency entrance. Tunde carried Ada himself, refusing help from the security personnel. "I need a doctor now," he commanded as he strode through the automatic doors. The staff recognized him immediately. Within seconds, a team of nurses rushed forward with a stretcher. "Mr. Williams," the head nurse said, startled. "What happened?" "This girl collapsed. Check her vitals, get her stabilized. Then I want your best doctor to examine her thoroughly." They wheeled Ada into a private room. Tunde watched through the glass window as medical staff worked quickly, checking blood pressure, administering 4 fluids, monitoring her heart rate. Chioma approached quietly. "Sir, I've located the mother. She's at a small clinic in Ajigunle, Divine Mercy Clinic. Her name is Mrs. Blessing Okafor. I spoke to the doctor there. He confirmed everything Ada said. The mother's condition is critical." Tunde's expression hardened. "How critical?" "Without immediate treatment, he gives her 48 hours at most." Tunde pulled out his phone, dialing rapidly. "Dr. Adeyemi? Yes, this is Tunde Williams. I need a full medical team dispatched to Divine Mercy Clinic in Ajigunle immediately. Patient name, Blessing Okafor. High blood pressure crisis and severe malaria complications. I want her transferred to Lagoon Hospital within the hour. Cost is irrelevant. Yes, I'll handle all expenses personally." He ended the call and turned to Chioma. "Make sure it happens." "Yes, sir." Inside the room, Ada's eyes fluttered open. She looked around in confusion, taking in the white ceiling, the medical equipment, the 4-line in her arm. "Mama?" she called out weakly. Tunde entered the room immediately. Ada's eyes widened when she saw him. "Mr. Williams?" Her voice was hoarse. Where am I?" "You're in the hospital. You collapsed," he said, his tone gentler than she'd heard before. "How do you feel?" "My mother?" Ada tried to sit up, panic flooding her face. "The clinic called. They said she's worse. I need to go to her." "Lie back down," Tunde said firmly but not unkindly. "Your mother is being taken care of. But the money we don't have." "I said she's being taken care of." His voice carried absolute authority. "A medical team is transferring her here as we speak. She'll receive the best treatment available." Ada stared at him, tears spilling down her cheeks. You're bringing her here? But this hospital, it must cost." "Don't worry about the cost." "But I haven't earned any money yet. I only cleaned 1 room." For the first time, something like a smile touched Tunde's face. "You did more than clean a room, Ada. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten." Tunde left Ada's room and walked to the hospital's outdoor terrace. The evening air was cool, carrying the salt scent of the ocean. He stood at the railing, looking out over Lekki's glittering skyline. Chioma found him there 20 minutes later. "Sir, Mrs. Okafor has arrived. They're admitting her now. The doctors say she's stable but needs intensive treatment for at least a week." Tunde nodded but didn't turn around. Chioma hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Sir, may I ask, why are you doing this?" Tunde was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant, almost as if he were talking to himself. "When I was 10 years old, I lived in Mushin. 1 room. My mother, my 2 siblings, and me. My father had died the year before, construction accident. No insurance, no compensation." Chioma listened quietly. In 8 years of working for him, Tunde had never spoken about his past. "My mother worked 3 jobs, washing clothes, selling provisions, cleaning offices at night. But it was never enough. We ate once a day if we were lucky. I wore the same torn uniform to school for 2 years." He gripped the railing tighter. One day, my younger sister got sick, typhoid. The free clinic gave her basic medication, but it wasn't working. She needed proper treatment, and we had nothing. What did you do? Chioma asked softly. I went to a construction site where I knew the foreman. I begged him for work, carrying cement, mixing sand, anything. I was 10 years old and weighed maybe 30 kilograms. He laughed bitterly. He should have sent me away. Child labor laws, safety regulations, all of it. But he didn't?
No.
He looked at me for a long time, then said, You can work Saturdays. Half pay. Don't tell anyone. I worked every Saturday for 6 months. Carried bags of cement that were almost as heavy as me. My back still remembers those days. Tunde turned to face Chioma, and she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Vulnerability. That money saved my sister's life. And that foreman, Mr. Adebayo, he later paid for my secondary school education. Said he saw something in me. That determination could take me far if someone gave me a chance. Understanding dawned on Chioma's face. And you see yourself in Ada. I see who I was. Who I could have been if no one had helped. He looked back toward the hospital. She has that same fire. That same refusal to give up. When I watched her on that security camera, sitting in our lobby, praying, hoping, I saw that 10-year-old boy at the construction site. So you're giving her what was given to you, Chioma said gently. A chance. Tunde straightened his shoulders, his business persona reasserting itself. Make sure both patients have everything they need. I want hourly updates on Mrs. Okafor's condition. Of course, sir. But as Chioma walked away, she smiled. The billionaire had found his heart again. 2 hours later, Ada woke to find herself in a new room, larger, with soft lighting and comfortable furniture. Her floor was still attached, but she felt stronger. A nurse was checking her vitals. Oh, you're awake. How do you feel, dear? Where's my mother? Ada asked immediately. The nurse smiled warmly. She's 2 doors down. Would you like to see her? Ada nodded frantically. The nurse helped her into a wheelchair, careful with the 4-line, and pushed her down the corridor. The hospital was nothing like the clinic in Ajagunal. Everything was clean, quiet, and smelled of fresh linen rather than disinfectant. They stopped at a private room. Through the open door, Ada saw her mother lying in a proper hospital bed, connected to monitors with a doctor examining her. Mama! Ada cried out. Mrs. Blessing Okafor's eyes opened. Despite her weakness, her face transformed with relief and joy. Ada! My baby! The nurse wheeled Ada to her mother's bedside. They clasped hands, both crying. I thought I lost you, Mrs. Blessing whispered. They said you collapsed. What happened? How did we get here? Before Ada could answer, Tunde appeared in the doorway. He had removed his suit jacket, his sleeves rolled up, looking less like a billionaire and more like a concerned visitor. Ada saw him and immediately tried to get out of the wheelchair. Mr. Williams. She attempted to kneel despite the 4 and her weakness. Stop, Tunde said quickly, moving forward. I told you before. You don't kneel for me. But Ada's eyes were streaming with tears. You saved her. You saved my mother. How can I ever thank you? How can I ever repay? You already have, Tunde interrupted gently. Ada looked confused. But I only cleaned 1 room. That's not enough to pay for all this. Tunde pulled up a chair and sat down, looking at both Ada and her mother. Ada, you taught me something today that I'd forgotten. You reminded me that determination and courage matter more than money. You reminded me who I used to be. Mrs. Blessing gripped his hand weakly. Sir, I don't know who you are or why you're helping us, but may God bless you abundantly. You've given us our lives back. Tunde felt something unfamiliar sting his eyes. Tears he hadn't shed in years. Just focus on getting better. Both of you. The doctors say you'll need to stay here for about a week, Mrs. Okafor. After that, we'll talk about the future. The cost, Mrs. Blessing began, is already handled, Tunde said firmly, standing up. Everything, treatment, medication, food, everything. Don't worry about money. Just heal. As he walked toward the door, Ada called out softly, "Mr. Williams?" He turned back. "Thank you," she said simply, her voice filled with emotion so pure and genuine that it cracked something deep in his chest. "Thank you for not turning me away." Tunde nodded, not trusting himself to speak. For the first time in 20 years, the billionaire understood what it meant to be truly wealthy. 3 days had passed since Ada's mother was admitted to Lagoon Hospital. Mrs. Blessing was responding well to treatment, and Ada had been staying in an adjacent room, visiting her mother throughout the day. Tunde had returned to his normal routine, checking on them through Chioma's daily reports. Life seemed to be settling into a new rhythm. Then everything exploded. It started with a video posted on Twitter at 6:47 a.m. The caption read, "Heartless billionaire turns away dying child's plea. #Justice for Ada. #Tunde Williams exposed." The video showed Ada kneeling at the gates of Williams Group headquarters, begging the security guards. It showed her spending the night outside. It showed her collapsed body being carried away. What it didn't show was what happened after. Within an hour, the video had been shared 10,000 times. By noon, it was trending nationwide. The comments were brutal. "These billionaires have no soul. A child spent the night outside begging and he didn't even come out? This is why Nigeria is broken. The rich don't care about the poor. Tunde Williams should be ashamed. #boycott Williams Group." News outlets picked up the story. Blog posts appeared with headlines screaming, "Billionaire security manhandles sick child," and "Elite indifference." The Ada Okafor story. Television stations ran segments showing Ada's picture alongside Tunde's, contrasting poverty with wealth. Nobody knew the full story. Nobody knew Ada and her mother were currently receiving world-class treatment at Tunde's expense. In his office, Tunde watched the chaos unfold on multiple screens. His phone rang constantly. His PR director, Femi, burst through the door, face pale with panic. "Sir, we have a serious crisis. Social media is destroying us. The company's stock has already dropped 2% this morning. Clients are calling, threatening to pull contracts. We need to respond immediately." Tunde's expression was stone. "What do you suggest?" "A press release, distancing yourself from the incident. We say security acted without your knowledge, that the girl was never actually denied entry, that—" "That would be a lie," Tunde said coldly. "Sir, with respect, the truth doesn't matter right now. Public perception does. We're being crucified online. Williams Group is being called heartless, greedy, disconnected. Enough." Tunde raised his hand. "Schedule an emergency board meeting for this afternoon. I'll address this then." After Femi left, Chioma entered quietly. "Sir, there's more. Someone leaked information to the media about Ada's mother being transferred to Lagoon Hospital. They're spinning it as damage control, saying you only helped after the video went viral." Tunde's jaw tightened. "Who leaked it?" "We're investigating." His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "Tunde, what is this video I'm seeing? Call me." Another from his younger sister. "Big brother, the news is saying terrible things. Are you okay?" More from business associates, friends, even people he hadn't spoken to in years. All asking, judging, demanding explanations. Tunde stood and walked to the window, looking down at the streets below where protesters were already beginning to gather with signs. "Billionaires for the people, not profits, and ADA deserved better." A small act of kindness, and the world had turned it into a weapon against him. The emergency board meeting convened at 2 p.m. 12 board members sat around the massive conference table, their faces grave. These were Nigeria's elite, old money, political connections, corporate sharks who had built empires on calculated decisions and risk management. Tunde entered last, his presence commanding immediate silence. "I assume you've all seen the news," he began without preamble. Mr. Okonkwo, the oldest board member and majority shareholder after Tunde, spoke first. "This is a disaster, Tunde. An absolute disaster. Our reputation is being shredded in real time. We've lost 8 million naira in market value since this morning. Client confidence is plummeting," added Mrs. Adebayo, head of the real estate division. 3 major deals are now in jeopardy. Partners are questioning our brand image. The protesters outside are growing in number. Mr. Ibrahim chimed in. They're calling for boycotts. This is affecting all our subsidiary companies. Tunde listened calmly, his fingers steepled under his chin. What we need, Mr. Okonkwo continued heavily, is complete separation from this situation. Issue a statement saying the girl's case was handled by rogue security personnel. Make a charitable donation to a children's hospital as goodwill. Distance yourself from direct involvement. Absolutely not, Tunde said flatly. The room fell silent. Excuse me? Mr. Okonkwo's eyebrows rose. I said no. I will not lie about what happened. I will not pretend I wasn't involved. Mrs. Adebayo leaned forward. Tunde, be reasonable. Your personal reputation is one thing, but this affects thousands of employees, shareholders, and— I am being reasonable, Tunde interrupted, his voice sharp. That girl showed more courage in one night than most people show in a lifetime. She didn't ask for handouts. She asked for work. She fought for her mother with everything she had. That's very touching, Mr. Okonkwo said dismissively. But this is business. We cannot afford sentiment. This isn't sentiment. It's principle. Tunde stood, his presence dominating the room. I helped that girl because it was the right thing to do. I will not apologize for that. I will not hide it. And I certainly will not throw her under the bus to protect our stock price. So you're willing to let the company suffer? Mr. Ibrahim asked incredulously. The company will survive market fluctuations. What it won't survive is losing its soul. Tunde's eyes swept across each board member. We've become so focused on profits that we've forgotten why we started building in the first place. To create opportunity, to lift people up, to make a difference. This is madness, Mr. Okonkwo muttered. You're risking everything for one girl. No, Tunde corrected. I'm risking everything to remember who I am, who we should be. The tension was suffocating. If the board wants me to abandon Ada and her mother, Tunde said slowly, deliberately, then you'll need to find a new CEO, because I won't do it. The threat hung in the air. Tunde Williams owned 45% of the company. Removing him would be nearly impossible and catastrophically expensive. Mr. Okonkwo's face reddened. You're being foolish, Tunde. Perhaps, Tunde replied, but I'd rather be a fool with integrity than a success without it. That evening, Tunde visited Ada and her mother at the hospital. He needed to see them to remind himself why he was fighting. But when he arrived at Mrs. Blessing's room, he found chaos. 2 security guards stood outside the door. Inside, nurses were calming Ada, who was crying hysterically. Mrs. Blessing sat up in bed, her face pale with shock. What happened? Tunde demanded. The head of hospital security stepped forward. Sir, about an hour ago, 3 men attempted to enter this room. They claimed to be journalists but had no credentials. When our staff tried to stop them, they became aggressive, shouting threats. What kind of threats? They said Mrs. Okafor was being used as a propaganda tool, that you were exploiting her story for publicity. They tried to film her without permission, saying they would expose the truth. Tunde's expression darkened dangerously. Where are they now? We escorted them off the premises and banned them from the hospital. But sir, the security officer hesitated. They said they'd be back. And they mentioned something about Ada being in danger because of her association with you. Tunde moved immediately to Ada's side. The girl was trembling, her eyes red from crying. Mr. Williams, she whispered. Those men said terrible things. They said you're only helping us to look good. They said I'm making trouble for you. They're wrong, Tunde said firmly, kneeling beside her wheelchair. Don't listen to them. But the news, everyone is angry because of me. I saw it on the television in Mama's room. They're saying bad things about you because you helped us. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause problems. Maybe we should leave. No. Tunde's voice was absolute. You're not going anywhere. Neither is your mother. Mrs. Blessing spoke weakly from the bed. Sir, Ada is right. We're grateful, more grateful than words can say, but we don't want to be the reason you suffer. If our presence here is causing you trouble. The only trouble, Tunde interrupted, is that people don't know the truth, and that's something I intend to fix. He stood, pulling out his phone. Chioma? I need you to arrange something for tomorrow morning. A press conference. Full media presence, television, newspapers, online platforms, everyone. Ada looked up at him with worried eyes. What are you going to do? Tunde looked down at her, and for the first time since the crisis began, he smiled. Not his usual controlled business smile, but something genuine and determined. I'm going to tell your story, he said. The real story. Let them try to twist the truth when they hear it directly from us. He turned to the security team. Double the guards on this floor. Nobody gets near these rooms without explicit clearance from me personally. Understood? Yes, sir. As Tunde left the hospital that night, he knew tomorrow would define everything. His reputation, his company, and his integrity. But he also knew with absolute certainty that he was doing the right thing. The press conference room at Williams Group headquarters was packed. Cameras from every major news station lined the back wall. Journalists filled every seat, notebooks ready, phones recording. The air buzzed with anticipation. Tunde walked to the podium, flanked by Chioma. Behind him, a large screen displayed a single photograph. Ada kneeling at the gates, her small hands clasped in prayer. The room fell silent. Good morning, Tunde began, his voice steady and clear. I'm sure you all recognize this image. It's been shared millions of times in the past few days. It's been used to paint me as heartless, cruel, disconnected from the suffering of ordinary Nigerians. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. But this image only tells part of the story. Today, I'm here to tell you the rest. Tunde stepped away from the podium, his presence commanding. The girl in this photograph is Ada Okafor. She is 12 years old. She lives in Ajigunle with her mother, who was dying from severe malaria and hypertension. Ada didn't come to my gates to beg for money. She came to ask for a job. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A job, Tunde repeated. She offered to clean offices, run errands, do anything, just to earn money to save her mother's life. She walked from Ajigunle to Victoria Island. She spent an entire night outside my gates. Not because she was entitled, not because she thought the world owed her anything, but because she refused to give up on her mother. The screen changed, showing Ada cleaning the conference room with meticulous care. I gave her a chance to prove herself, and she did. She worked with a dedication that put many adults to shame. But while she was working, she received news that her mother's condition had worsened. She collapsed from stress and fear. Another image appeared, Ada unconscious, being carried by Tunde himself. So yes, I helped her. I authorized full medical treatment for both Ada and her mother at Lagoon Hospital. And I don't regret it for 1 second. The room erupted with questions, but Tunde raised his hand. You want to know why I did it? Because 25 years ago I was Ada. I was a 10-year-old boy in Mushin, desperate to save my sick sister. A man named Mr. Adebayo gave me a chance when he had every reason to turn me away. That chance changed my life. It made everything I am today possible. His voice grew stronger. Ada reminded me that success isn't measured by how much wealth you accumulate, but by how many lives you touch. She reminded me that courage doesn't require money. It requires heart. Tunde looked directly at the cameras. So to those calling me heartless, you're right about one thing. My heart was hard. It had forgotten where I came from. But Ada broke through that. She reminded me what really matters. The real story isn't about a billionaire ignoring a poor girl. It's about a brave child teaching a man to be human again. The room exploded with applause. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Blessing Okafor was discharged from Lagoon Hospital. The doctors declared her fully recovered, her blood pressure stabilized, and the malaria completely treated. But she wasn't returning to Ajigunle. Tunde had arranged for them to move into a modest but comfortable 2-bedroom apartment in Suralere, a safe neighborhood with good schools nearby. The apartment came fully furnished, with a year's rent paid in advance. "I can't accept this," Mrs. Blessing had protested when Chioma first showed her the apartment. "It's too much. You've already done so much for us." "You can accept it," Tunde had replied firmly, "because you're going to earn it." That's when he offered her a position at Williams Group, administrative assistant in the Human Resources Department. The salary was fair, the benefits generous, and the work was honest. "You'll start next month," Tunde had said. "That gives you time to settle in, get Ada enrolled in a better school, and rest properly." Mrs. Blessing had cried, overwhelmed by gratitude and disbelief that their lives had truly changed. Now, standing in their new living room with sunlight streaming through clean windows, Ada could barely believe it was real. "Mama, we have our own kitchen," she called out, running her fingers along the countertop. Mrs. Blessing emerged from the bedroom, smiling despite her tears. "Ada, come see. You have your own room, with a desk for studying." Ada rushed to see. The room was small but perfect, a bed with a colorful quilt, a wooden desk with a reading lamp, and a small bookshelf already filled with textbooks and storybooks. Card sat on the desk. Ada opened it carefully. "Dear Ada, education is the key that unlocked my future. I hope it does the same for you. Study hard. Dream big. Never stop fighting. T.W." Inside the card was a scholarship certificate, full tuition, books, and supplies for the next 6 years, through secondary school. Ada held the card to her chest, tears streaming down her face. A knock on the door interrupted the moment. Mrs. Blessing opened it to find Chioma standing there with shopping bags. "I hope I'm not intruding," Chioma said warmly. "I brought some groceries to help you settle in." "And Ada," she pulled out a wrapped package. "This is for you." Ada unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a brand new school uniform, shoes, and a backpack filled with supplies. "You start at your new school on Monday," Chioma said, smiling. "Corona Primary School. One of the best in Lagos." Ada threw her arms around Chioma, hugging her tightly. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Chioma hugged her back, remembering the desperate, dusty girl who had knelt at their gates just weeks ago. Now she looked like any other child, clean, healthy, hopeful. "You did this yourself, Ada," Chioma whispered. "Your courage changed everything. Never forget that." After Chioma left, Ada and her mother stood at the window, looking out at their new neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, children playing safely, hope stretching as far as they could see. Their nightmare had ended. Their new life had begun. Saturday afternoon, Tunde picked up Ada and her mother in his personal car. Not the intimidating convoy, just a simple Mercedes with him driving. "Where are we going?" Ada asked excitedly from the back seat. "You'll see," Tunde replied with a mysterious smile. They drove through Lagos, past the familiar chaos of traffic and street vendors, toward the coast. Finally, they turned onto the Lekki-Ikoyi Link Bridge. The Atlantic Ocean stretched endlessly beneath them, sparkling in the afternoon sun. Modern buildings rose on either side, symbols of progress and possibility. Tunde slowed the car deliberately, giving them time to take it all in. Ada pressed her face against the window, her eyes wide with wonder. She had never been on this bridge before, had never seen Lagos from this perspective. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Yes, it is," Tunde agreed. "I drive this bridge every day, Ada. But I'd stopped seeing it. I'd stopped seeing a lot of things. Until you reminded me to look again." Mrs. Blessing reached forward from the back seat, placing her hand gently on Tunde's shoulder. "Sir, how can we ever thank you enough?" "By living well," Tunde said simply. "By being happy. By never forgetting that courage and determination can change everything." He glanced at Ada in the rearview mirror. "And by remembering that when you succeed, and you will succeed, Ada, you help someone else climb up too. That's how we build a better Nigeria. One act of courage, one extended hand at a time." Ada nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of his words. As they crossed the bridge, Ada looked out at the water, then at the city skyline, then at her mother's peaceful face. She thought about the desperate girl who had knelt at those gates, who had spent a night on cold pavement, who had refused to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. That girl had been brave. That girl had been determined. That girl had changed not just her own life, but the heart of one of Nigeria's most powerful men. Ada turned to look at Tunde, then at her mother, then back out at the beautiful city spread before them. A soft smile touched her lips, and she whispered the words that would echo in all their hearts. "Mummy, our life has changed." Mrs. Blessing pulled her daughter close, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes, my baby. By the grace of God and the kindness of good people, our life has truly changed." Tunde said nothing, but his eyes glistened as he drove. Sometimes, he realized, the greatest wealth isn't measured in bank accounts or business empires. It's measured in lives touched, hope restored, and futures transformed. And in that moment, driving across the bridge with Ada and her mother, Tunde Williams felt richer than he had ever felt in his entire life. Life's greatest treasures aren't found in what we accumulate, but in what we give. Ada's courage reminds us that determination can move mountains, while Tunde's transformation shows us that true success means lifting others as we climb. When we extend a hand to those in need, we don't just change their lives, we rediscover our own humanity. Never underestimate the power of one act of kindness. It can transform both the giver and the receiver in ways money never could. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales of courage, redemption, and hope. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that miracles still happen when brave hearts refuse to give up. Your support helps us bring more stories like Ada's to the world. Thank you for watching, and remember, your own story of courage could be just beginning.